All right, everyone. In this video, I am going to create a page for sellers. So the first thing we're going to do is we're inside of our Max Tech powered by Bolt Trail. I'm going to go to Web and IDX. I do have admin, so I want to make sure I'm on my scope or the scope of the website I'm looking to make changes on. In this case, we're playing on my website. I'm going to come over to Pages, and I'm going to create a custom page. Again, you could use their template. Makes it super easy. Change out photos, edit the text, whatever you want to do, change colors, lots of things you can do with their templates. I personally am just going to go ahead and start from scratch. So I'm going to create a custom page. First thing we need to do is go to those advanced options. And I already did a buyer's page. Now I'm doing a seller's. We need a category. I just happened to create one that was buy, sell. I'm going to put it in that same category. So after I publish this, it'll be on the drop down because it's in the same category as my buyer's page. Of course, if you didn't, you just need to type category in, click enter, and you'll be able to do that. Always add in description, keywords, all of that. I'm going to go ahead and click save. And then we have all these blocks. I'm going to go ahead and go to rows, and I'm just going to drag a few over because I like to use the rows because there's a lot of different things I can do, but I can always easily maneuver up and down. You could just drag and drop. I find usually that'll work, but if I wanted to move something up, I have to do it in a row. So for me, I just use rows because I can easily drag and drop, move things around a lot easier if I do the rows. So my first row, I always put a spacer so my title doesn't encroach on that top menu bar. A lot of times if you have the black navigation, that top text is right on top. So I like to add a little spacer up there before I do much of anything. I'm going to add a title. I know I'm going to add a paragraph. And I know I'm going to add some buttons. I'm going to add 3 buttons to start with. And I'm not going to be able to put them in there. So I'm going to go over to row and I'm going to look for this 3. And I can drag and drop right there. I'm going to come over to my buttons. So you see, I'm not even putting content yet. I'm thinking, how am I going to do this layout? And then it's easier for me to just copy paste, drag and drop or whatnot. So the button, the top first button, I am going to do market report. And I don't like it where it's fixed to the size of my text because I don't want the buttons different sizes. Knowing I have 3 across, I want them to all be full width in their little teeny spot. So I'm going to go ahead and come over here to where the auto width is. I'm going to undo auto and just put it full length. And I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to use this navy blue. Let's see. I'm going to use that one there. Then what I'm going to do, because I haven't added links or anything, I'm just going to copy this button twice. And then I'm going to drag and drop into the little box right there. Then I can go ahead and, edit the text, change the link. Where does this go? Think of different buttons. Let's see. My homeowner app, if I can type. And then this other one, let's see, instant home value. Do I want that? Well, go ahead and do that. Home value. All right. So they're going to have different links. I know my market report, and I have this on my cheat sheet. Here is that link. My homeowner app is right here. My instant home value takes you to that sell page. So I'm going to go ahead and put that there. Then let's see. I know I'm going to want another paragraph. At a loss for words. So we're going to come over to ChatGPT. I wrote up a prompt, super simple. Definitely you would probably want to add in more. Help me write a page about selling a home in Brevard County, also known as the Space Coast. We have both of those terms. Locals may call it one thing. Florida tourism's really going all in with the Space Coast. So I'm definitely incorporating more of that into my website for SEO and all of that kind of stuff. I want to include the basics of the home selling experience, what to expect, and maybe add in why setting up the market report alerts are important or a good idea. I also have a staging guide and a seller's guide I want them to download. So I'm just going to go ahead and click enter and see what ChatGPT does. It's always a good start. You can always modify it if it does. Sometimes I'll do something and there's just a ton of links and I'll make it rewrite it without those links. Or if it comes in a different verbiage or anything like that, you can make it exciting. You can make it persuasive. Lots of things you can do. You can always, make it your tone. ChatGPT knows me pretty well. I use it pretty much every day. It's a great starting point. I'm not a writer, but I can edit these. I can link things. I can do all sorts of fun stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and just, while it's building, I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste some of this stuff. And I'm going to come right over here. I got this title here. I'm a title. I'm going to paste it. I want it to be bigger font, so I usually just make that about 40. And if I want it to be different font across the board, I'm going to go into the main settings. And that's where I'm going to change my font. Where'd it go? So I'm going to do that. Now let's go see over here. I'm going to come over here. Just literally copying and pasting this information. I am going to bold this. I like my font to be 16. And I also like to be 1.5 for the line spacing. So here I have more information, content. Going to come back over here to paragraph. Go back over there. So here's kind of like a what to expect. Paste. And I could paste without formatting, just kind of paste as plain text. And if it's a lot of formatting, I usually do that, but this is just the bold. So it's easier for me just to remove the spaces than anything else. So I can come over here, remove that space. Let's see what else we can add. So you can see all of this information, download, simple, all of this fun stuff. So let's get your home sold. I do want that at the bottom. So I'm going to go to content, paragraph. I'm going to add that here. Again, changing this. All right, and I'm going to add in, I know I want to add in my buyer guide or the seller guide and staging guide. So I'm going to come over here to rows. I'm going to find the 2 rows. There we go, putting that right inside of there. Again, I'm going to copy this because that way it's already going to be my color. It's already full width. I just changed that. I might have to move this over a little bit. Copy, drag and drop. So I'm going to do, let's see, download seller guide. And I'm going to come over here, download staging guide. And this, you could do a couple things. I personally try to find every which way to lead people to the landing pages I have set up. And that is like a gateway for information. I already have these set up, but of course, all I need is the link. So if I wanted to do a form, I could do that. I could just put the link in here. I have a link to Google Drive. That link, if you have Dropbox and you have your own guide, you can put it there. Personally, I would take a little extra effort, create those landing pages. I do use the template that we have available to set up those guides. And so I'm just going to use those links. I'm going to come over to my website. Let me refresh this. I have guides. So I know I want my seller's guide. I'm just going to come right over here. And there's my guide. And that'll take them to the Remax guide. I'm going to use that link right here. I'm going to come over here to my staging guide. Go right here, copy link, paste, and I don't need my domain, I just use that / and there it is. So now I have those. So maybe we want to add in, we have some content, some information. Maybe we want to add in a photo here to kind of break it up. If you have a logo, when I'm building sites, I always add the logo here. But we need to be able to add in an image. And when I drag and drop, it's not letting me do that here. So I'm just going to come over to rows, because usually this is what I do. So I have text and then an image. So I always have to think of, where am I going to be adding this stuff? So I'm going to go to content, drag and drop an image in this block. I have to kind of move that over. I think I have my screen really big right now, which is why it's doing that. So now I have an image. I can come right here, browse. We'll see what I may have. So I have some images. This one I love. I actually got that flying home from R4 one year, flying into Melbourne, one of the top spots for flying. You see it's like, oh, it's kind of wide, doesn't really fit that space, so I could edit that if I wanted to. Add in a different photo that matches that. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to add in a video too. So if you have a video, we are fortunate because there are a ton of videos that Florida does for the Space Coast tourism. If I wanted to add in a more local video that I haven't done myself, I can go to YouTube, find one of theirs. So I'm going to come over here to the content, video, and it does have to be Vimeo or YouTube link. You'll see right here. I just have to put in one of those links. So I'm just going to add in a commercial. I have these on mine, but I want you to be able to do something that Remax already has on theirs. So I have this link in there. It's just a commercial. Just there for you, commercial. And then I'm going to come over to content. And remember, I like the spacer. So I'm going to add a spacer at the very bottom, which will leave a little bit of a blank right below where that footer area is. So it's not touching that. I just want a little bit of space in there. So there we go. I don't need this block. I can exit out. So we have our title, a little paragraph, a little photo. Let's change this out. It's going to drive me nuts. And I may have to modify that text. I think these are all like that. Yep, it's all going to be like that. So I could change this, edit the text, which never really copy and paste from ChatGPT. Always use it as a starting point, modify it, link it, anything like that. Okay, let's see. I have buttons. So I have market report. I have my app, and let me home. I was like, that's not, something looks wrong about that. And send home value. That's the sell tab. Then we have some verbiage. We have download my seller guide, staging guide. Again, anything to build that pipeline, labeled. Then I have a Remax commercial. So I can just save it, or I can just publish it, because I'm going to go ahead and publish it so we can view it, so you can see it. And again, I can come right up here to my website. And remember, I added the drop down. Oh, this one's not mine. This one's from the office, inherited from the office. Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to go back over here so we can view that page. So I have set up my offices, so that's why all those pages came under that. If you're looking to do custom and your office already has stuff, a little trickier. We just have to remove, go into your settings to remove what they have, and we add in our own stuff. So here's the content, here's my buttons, and looking at it, I want the font a little bigger for those buttons. Have this a little bigger for those buttons, maybe making them a different, maybe that bright blue, and then a commercial. And again, it's just a starting point. These kind of pages I'm constantly adding on to. If you're doing seller blogs, maybe you want to add in any of that. Definitely a lot of different options that you can do, but it's a great starting point. Getting a page, getting some leads generated, giving opportunities and different ideas for the selling. So hopefully this helps, and we'll chat soon. Bye, guys.